So let's get started. I'd like to introduce you to our next guest. This is Kimunya Mugo. Kimunya Mugo is a certified professional coach, and he's also a lead consultant at iweza.com. Kimunya is on a personal mission to help you co-create a world of hope and connectedness and to empower your own life through coaching, through leadership strategy, and thoughtful communication. So he'll be taking you through this presentation as a way of helping you to really help you to create your world, to rethink your own world. And it's to build significance really for yourself. So as a professional coach, he's a certified coach. He's certified by the International Coach Federation. And he's also an accredited business partner for Clarity 4D, which is in strategic planning. And he's also a communication and branding specialist with over 20 years experience. He chairs the board of Kenya Network for Dissemination of Agricultural Technologies and also serves as a commissioner in the Sports and Environment Commission for our National Olympic Committee here in Kenya. And he serves as a board member for the international. He has also served as a board member for the International Coach Federation Kenya chapter in 2018 and 2019. So with that introduction, I would like to now give the floor over to Kimunya. We're looking forward to your presentation. You have the floor.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much, Beryl, for that wonderful introduction and also for organizing this. I have to say that I'm excited that you chose to host us and also to bring us together virtually, despite the fact that we have been in, so to speak, isolation in a sense for the last few months. I'm excited to be here to be able to serve you. And as Beryl mentioned, yes, that's part of who I am. Maybe what didn't go into the bio is the order in which I live life. The first and foremost, in terms of serving, I serve God first because He's my creator, giving me breath and life. And after that, I serve my wife and 4 children. I have 3 girls and 1 boy. Those are my priorities. And once I'm done serving those 2 first categories, then I have free time to serve community. And the reason I'm very keen on this is because if I am not aligned in those first 2 areas of my life, then my service to community is not that great. And so today, we're just going to have a conversation around significance. What is significance? What is it? How does it show up? What does it mean for us to figure out significance? It's going to be part of what my journey has been in also finding my own significance. And these are the 4 areas that I found that were really pertinent in helping me to figure out the next stage of my life. I was employed for 17 years. And I quit my job in 2014 to be able to be in this space where I am right now to serve people and community and yourself. And it's been a long journey. It's been a long journey. So I just want to start us off with a question here. And I want to ask us to think about our lives and where we are. And if you had 6 weeks to live, if you had 6 weeks to live, I want you to just think about that and critically figure out what would you do? What would you do if you had 6 weeks to live? As in, from today, count 6 weeks, and you're definitely going to go meet your maker. What would you do? And I just want you to use the chat function and just quickly, just write 1 word. What is that urgent thing that you might do in those 6 weeks that you have to live? Just take a minute and just jot down 1 word that comes to your mind immediately. Have you got the word? Just type it out. If you had 6 weeks to live. can see Wangeshi says family. Just one word. Okay, as you're thinking about that one word, we can just proceed. And the 6 weeks to live, why is it important for me? It's because there's a certain man who actually found himself in that position. The only thing that was different here is that he did not know that he only had 6 weeks to live. Right? I can see some very interesting comments. Eat, love, family, legacy, pray to God. Thank you for sharing those. So this man found himself in this scenario. He had 6 weeks. The only thing is that he did not actually know that he had 6 weeks to live. He was unwell, yes, but he was hoping to get better and get back to life. But exactly 6 weeks later, from the time a certain event happened to his death, he was no more. And I want to pause and just let that sink in. He was no more 6 weeks. Now that so happened that this man, at that time I think he was 63 years old, he had for a long time not had a good relationship with his family, and especially his firstborn son. And they had not had any significant communication or engagement or even relationship for the better part of his son's life. And his son at that time, he must have been, he had just turned 40. So you can imagine for a very significant part of their lives, they were not in each other's lives. Then it so happened that the son chose to do something different. He just chose to, not necessarily forget the past, but heal from the past and figure out what the next half of my life, assuming that halftime was 40 years old. For the next half of his life, what would he do? And he decided one of the things that he needed to do was rekindle his relationship with his dad. So on Father's Day 2015, he decided to meet up with his father. And so they had a conversation and all that. And that's when they both discovered, okay, there's something that needs to be really sorted out about his health. But what happened is that fast forward 6 weeks later, on nearly the same time they reconnected, this old man passed away. It so happens that old man was my father. We had not had a relationship with him for a long period, from around the time I was 7 years old, when he was transferred from home and he had to go. He was a civil servant. He had to go and work away from home. We did not have any relationship, and at that point, what I felt was that my father had abandoned me in the light, at the altar of his work. He had gone out of town. A lot of anger and bitterness, and there's a long story to that, which I will come and share back at the end of towards the end of our engagement today. But that came the chain of events that led me to start thinking about, if I was to be significant, what would it be? What will it take? What will my life do? Is my career enough? Is my family enough? Is my relationship with God enough? Or is there something else I need to actually really figure out? And therefore, that took me to a journey to just try and filter out my life and really look at what are the next steps that I need to take forward. And the reason for this was very, very simple. The reason for this was augured on the premise of my past colors my present, and my present determines what my legacy is going to be like. In as much as we don't want to look at the past, unfortunately, the past has a way that provides filters to how we view and live and experience the present, what we want to know. And therefore, what I chose to do was look at what is filters that I have from my past that are affecting me, because ultimately that will determine how I'm going to end. And there's a friend who I listen to quite often, and he says, when you're thinking about life, think about with the end in mind. How will you be remembered? And that is a critical question that kept me asking. So I needed to deal with my past, the filters that were affecting my present. Yeah, from that experience of reconnecting with my dad for a very short time, it was just 6 weeks. And what I didn't mention is that that was also the first time that he met his grandchildren. Our eldest then was 10 years old, so he had not seen his grandchildren. There were 3 of them at that time. The fourth one came in March later, 2017. But as I was going through that whole journey, I was asking myself the question: if I was to remain significant in my life and in my work, then what are the main areas that I need to really look at? And therefore, I just looked at four main areas, and I call these my 4 personal P's, and I hope you'll be able to also embrace them. And the first one was just looking at my perspective, and I kept on asking myself this question: why was I created? And the reason I was asking why I was created was to try and answer the question: what is my purpose and what is my mission in life? And a story is told about, or I read a story somewhere about a statue that was in Bangkok, Thailand. And this statue was in a street corner. It was dirty, it was gray, it was just a mass of a concrete, gray concrete. You can just think about a statue out downtown where people go and just put trash and pee on it and everything. But what they didn't realize is that one day, as it was being, the council, I think, was thinking about cleaning it up and maybe moving it somewhere else, they started chipping at it. And when they broke off the concrete, lo and behold, emerged a whole statue, a Buddha, the golden Buddha. It was solid gold that had been covered up in all this muck and dirt for years and years. And nobody knew about it until the time of trashing, when the council wanted to trash it, came to be. And that also struck a chord in me. What is it that is hidden in me that I've hidden either through, the filters I have, my past, the filters I have about my past that has colored my present, and people or society or even the community I serve doesn't see me in my fullness. And that triggered something in me. And I started asking myself, what pain must I do, right? Must I go through now to gain the purpose and mission that I want? And, just as like the illustration on screen right now, how do I approach life with awe? And every day I wake up and I'm like, my goodness, I'm alive today. What was I created to do today? And just shifting that perspective from the past, which was beat down, where I didn't feel like I was worthy enough in as much as I'd actually advanced in my career. By the time I was resigning from my job, I was at director level. But I still was feeling the void that I needed to put in place. And therefore that really triggered my desire to find the right perspective in life and for the work that I do. On the right hand side, there's a photo of myself, and we in a group of some friends had gone out cycling, and I'm going to use some cycling analogies from cycling because I love cycling, and that's how I stay healthy, mentally and physically. And in the background is Mount Kilimanjaro. On my face, you can actually see and a beautiful background. And for you who's looking at the image right now, all you're seeing is the fun. Now, if I was to tell you at this point, I was nearly giving up. This was a 115-kilometer ride. I was nearly giving up. I was in absolute pain. I'd actually fallen twice because I'd gotten some serious muscle cramp that just got me off the bike. But having the perspective of finishing that journey strong gave me the ability or the opportunity to smile. So perspective is the first thing that you need to really resolve in yourself. Where am I going? What is my purpose? What is my mission? Yeah, so that's a perspective. And I think I shared with you the analogy of the children just having that sense of awe. And every time I wake up and look at myself in the mirror, I just go like, this is why I was created, and I can't wait to get to do what I'm doing, regardless of how tough the day is, regardless of how the bank account looks like, regardless of how many friends I have. That is the picture I want to have every single day when I wake up. And I also mentioned about my cycling journey, just having Mount Kilimanjaro in the background and me smiling, but being in pain. But the purpose of that vision was so strong that I could still afford a smile even through the pain. So perspective, really critical if you're going to thrive at your work and life. So the second one I was going to is just the whole issue about presence. And presence here, I break it into two: being available and just the sense of being available alone. Am I approachable? Can I serve others in a significant way? And I want to ask you to share with you this. When you look at your life is like an iceberg. And think about that iceberg. What you see at the top, and this is a very common analogy, you might have had it somewhere else, but I want us to really think about it here today. When you look at the tip of the iceberg, it's only 10% that actually shows up above the surface of the sea. 90% of the iceberg is lacking under the waters. 10% is a skill that you brought to the table, and that's what gets you there. But what keeps you there, the 90% that is lacking under the water, is your character. So how does your character show up? What are your beliefs? What are your, the soft side of you? What shows up? And if you actually remember about the Titanic, when it hit that iceberg, it's not the tip of the iceberg that brought down the Titanic. It's what was lacking under. That was where all the weight and that's where everything was. So think about your life as an iceberg. What is your character? Because that is what is actually going to keep you there. Your skill will get you there, but what is going to keep you there is your character. The other part about being approachable is this: who are you in your life? Are you a thermometer or are you a thermostat? And what is the significance of this? The significance is very simple. One reacts, the other one creates. A thermometer reacts to the environment or the climate around it and just indicates how hot or cold it is. A thermometer, on the other hand, determines the climate around it. So if you want the climate to remain at 30 degrees centigrade or 20 degrees centigrade, it will either increase the temperature or reduce the temperature. And for you to be significant in your life, you need to choose one of the two. Are you a thermometer or are you a thermostat? If you're a thermometer, everything that is around you is going to affect you. We've all heard of peer pressure. Peer pressure is a form of a thermometer. A thermostat is the one that is driven by character, the 90% of you. Who are you on the inside? What is your character? So I chose to be present, but to choose that also required that I must also go through some painful processes of reevaluation and looking at what I need to keep and what I need to throw away and what I need to acquire in terms of knowledge, in terms of skills, and so forth and so on. The second important piece, presence. The third piece is just looking at promise. What is your promise to the world? What is your promise to your family? What is a promise to your community? What is a promise to your workplace? What is a promise to yourself? And these I call your brand offering. And at one point in one of the former Boston marathons, a lady held up a placard, and I don't know if you can clearly see it. And the placard read, "Hurry up, the Kenyans are drinking your beer." That is the promise a Kenyan who shows up at the Boston Marathon offers to the spectators, to the race organizers, and to the sponsors, that I am here to win. I am here to give you the best. What is your brand offering? When you think about a friend invites you for a nyama choma or something like that, what is the anticipation you have in yourself? You anticipate that you're going to, have a wonderful meal, have a wonderful time. There's something significant about that invitation. And therefore, I started to ask myself, what is my promise to the world? Every day I wake up in the morning, what am I offering? Before I show up, what do people expect to get from me? After I leave, what do I leave behind with them? That is your brand. Your brand is not necessarily how well you dress or how well you show up. Your brand is what shows up or what people think about you before you show up, and what you leave people talking about or thinking or being inspired after you have left. What is my brand offering? So for me to be significant in my life, I need to have a very specific promise and know it and live it every single day. The fourth P and the last one is just looking at persistence. And this is a fortitude to keep at it no matter what. A few years ago, I went out on a bike ride in Karura with my son. He was 7 then, and 7 was very significant for me because that's the time I also lost connection with my own father, and so I've learned to be very, very intentional about my relationship with my family and my children. So at that in that race, there were 2 races. One was for the juniors, the kids, and the other one was for us. I hadn't been riding for long. I think I'd just been riding for like 6 months at this point. So we went out they went out for their race and they came back and we cheered them on. And then we went out for hours. Now, as we were going for hours, there were some young men who were really riding fast. But there was one thing that kept me going, and that was how was I going to show up. I made a promise to my son that I was going to ride my best. That was my brand promise to him. But as we were riding, I remember I was cut off, and twice I fell into the bush, and I was wondering if I was going to make it, and I was just feeling like I was going to just give up. But just having that notion that my son is waiting for me was very kept me persistent. So, long story short, I finished. I think I was third, and I got a medal. And when I was presented with that medal, I just said, you know what? This medal doesn't belong to me. This actually belongs to my son, who is the one who kept me persistent in this race to the end. And I gave it to him. And as I was going home, we just drove out of the Karura forest. And as we were going home, I just asked him one question. Son, so what did you learn today from the cycling that we did? And he mentioned something that really astounded me. And he said this. He said, what I remember, what I was remembering when I was riding is that don't quit until the whistle blows. This was a 7-year-old, and it hit me that he had been listening in to some podcasts I was listening to as we were driving around, and that happened to be a podcast by one beautiful author. He's called Michael Hyatt, and in his podcast he was talking about persistence. And unknown to me, my son was actually building up his character through me, through what I was consuming. He was inadvertently consuming that, and that is what drove him. Persistence, fortitude to keep at it all. And when we started off with the first P, I mentioned about the Mount Kilimanjaro experience. And to just cap off these 4 Ps, there's two gentlemen that I really admire. One is, if you look at the photo on your left-hand side, the gentleman who's bending, his name is Larry Sawe. Now, Larry, we went out for this 115-kilometer ride together. But what many people did not know is that Larry was doing this and he had a kidney condition, actually a severe kidney condition. Unfortunately, he passed on a few years ago from complications of the same. But Larry persisted regardless of his condition. He was the joy of the party. He was the one urging others on, even when he was in pain. He persisted because he knew he wanted to finish his life strong and he wanted to leave a legacy that mattered. Now, the significance of the gentleman in the middle is that during this journey, we actually built up a very significant relationship. And right now, he actually appointed me his mentee, his mentor, sorry. And we are walking life with him. Through persisting through life, we are now seeing a legacy that was driven by somebody who's gone before us, now living on in us. Persistence, keeping at it no matter what. And therefore building habits around that help me to become involved, to become committed to what I say I'm going to do, or what I set my mind to do. I become committed, fully committed to it, and not just involved. And I want to bring some clarity to this. What is the difference between being committed and being involved? One is a chicken, the other one is a pig. A chicken is just involved in laying the egg, and after that, goes on its happy life to lay an egg the following day. But for you to eat your bacon, the pig has to be committed to death. For that to happen, something bigger must occur in its life for it to sustain you or to help you enjoy the. So the question I have for you today is this: are you committed or are you just involved? And as we think about that, I want us to take a pause here and just do a short poll and just look at the 4 P's that we've just mentioned: perspective, presence, promise, and persistence. And just to figure out, how do these show up in our lives? How do these areas, how are they influencing our lives or not influencing our lives? So at this point, we'll ask Beryl to just share the poll, and we're going to take, let's take about 3 to 4 minutes and just think through those. Don't overthink it. This is just food for thought. Yeah, Beryl, over to you.
Okay, thanks, Kimunya. So just give us a moment as we put up the poll. And maybe as we put it up, maybe Kimunya, you can just go through someone's asking for you to go through the analogy of the thermostat and of the thermometer.
Oh, okay, perfect. Let me just take that up again. So the two gadgets, a thermostat and a thermometer, I'll just go back to that slide. A thermostat, they both measure something similar, and that is temperature. So but there is a significant difference between the two of them. A thermometer is influenced by the climate around it. So if it is hot, the thermometer will just indicate that it is hot to a certain degree. If it is cold, then it's going to indicate that it is cold to a certain degree. On the other hand, a thermostat determines the climate or the temperature around it. So if you set your thermometer at 30 degrees centigrade, whether the climate around you or not likes it or not, it will have to go to 30 degrees centigrade because there's a heater that it is controlling, or there is an air conditioner that it is controlling. And therefore, the challenge I had is, I looked at my life and asked myself, what am I, a thermostat or am I a thermostat? And I decided I was going to be, if my life was going to have significance, either my life or even at the workplace, even in business right now, that I choose to be a thermostat. But there is a cost to choosing to become a thermostat. I need to live differently. I need to operate outside the box. Actually, not even outside the box, ban the box completely. I don't know if that brings some clarity.
I think it does. I think it does. So we are running the poll now. Let me know if you can be able to see it. If you can't be able to see it, the question that we are asking is, do you feel that you have perspective for your life right now? So maybe Kimunya, you can just remind people again, what you mean by perspective, and they can think about it and answer yes or no. Yeah, and maybe comment why that is.
Okay, great. So are you clear in terms of perspective? Are you clear about your purpose and mission in life? Are you clear about purpose and mission in life? That's perspective.
Yeah, so let us know in the chat. You can just say yes or no.
So
Okay. A lot of no's, some yeses. Maybe you can say why. Why do you feel yes or no?
Okay. And see, some are coming in. Yeah, some are private. Sometimes somebody saying one time it's clear, the next very clear. Okay. All right. Thank you. So should we go to the next one?
Yes, we can go to the next question. So the next question is, do you feel like your life has got present? And so maybe you could tell us again, what does presence refer to?
Yeah, presence. Are you fully available in the moment and approachable in the moment, or are you on and off? In other words, do you blow hot or cold? And maybe you can even answer it from the thermometer thermostat perspective. Are you more influenced by what is going on currently, or are you the one setting the pace?
So Kimunya,
Yeah.
I'm finding it very interesting. Some people are saying that they feel like they do at some point, and then sometimes they don't feel like they have
Okay.
it.
And
So what's that about? What could you say to that?
that's a very interesting one, and I think in the next section we are actually going to look at what then do you need to do so that regardless of what is around you, that you still keep on, regardless of how you necessarily feel.
Okay, very interesting. Okay, so we're going to close that for now. The next question is, do you feel like your life has got promise? Yeah, so Kimunya, maybe you could share a bit about that.
Yeah. So if you are a brand, what would people say about that brand? How will they perceive it? For example, if you were a car, what kind of car would you be? So what is your offering to the world? Do people clearly see it, or they just have to kind of guess it?
Oh, okay. So I'm seeing dependable or safe. I'm surprised. I thought people wanted to be fast car brands or luxury car brands. Actually, it's very interesting. But yeah, people are saying dependable, safe. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, great.
And the
Awesome.
last question is,
The last
does
one
your
is
life persistent?
persistent.
Yes.
Yeah. How well do you finish? How well do you finish? Whether it's work, your relationship, your meetings, your whatever it is, how well do you finish? Okay. Yes, I said I know I could do better. 50%. Okay, great. So now with that in perspective, and just keep on adding your chat, and we'll have a look at some of those a little later. Is then why is it that sometimes you feel like you're there 50% and at others you're not? And also looking back at the very first P perspective. So am I clear on my mission? And am I clear on my purpose? And the next step after going through these 4 Ps was just looking at the very first thing I needed to sort out for me was the whole area about my mission. And a mission here, actually, mission it comes from a military background. When a soldier is going out of the barracks, he or she is actually going out on a mission to do a very specific thing, and they do not come back to the barracks until until they have accomplished their mission, or sometimes they're dead. And so I iterated through this for quite a while, and I created this. I decided my mission in life and for my business and everything else I do going forward is to co-create a world of hope, connectedness, and empowered life. And that was very critical because for me, I wanted to make. That's where I felt I needed to make a difference. That's what I felt was my purpose, to co-create that world. However that world looked like, it needed to have hope, connectedness, and empowerment. And this is what I live through every single day. And I do this through coaching, leadership, strategy, thoughtful communications, branding, whatever it is. Those are by the ways. But at the end of the day, I will measure myself with those first two lines. Did I co-create a certain world? Did I co-create a world of hope? Did I co-create a world of connectedness? Did I co-create a world of an empowered life with someone, with a group, with a team today? And if I can say yes, then I know I have lived my 4Ps. My perspective was very clear. My presence was there. My promise was delivered, and I persisted regardless of how I felt. Sometimes I would wake up just feeling down in the dumps, and I would prop myself with this statement: what world am I co-creating today, regardless of how I feel? That is my mission. And a mission is, if I was to use an analogy, if I was to die on a certain hill, what hill will that be? Am I very clear about where I'm going to lay to plant my stake, so to speak? But for that mission to exist, it has to be driven by a vision, something that I have not necessarily arrived at, but I hope to, at the very end of life, what will my legacy be? And if my legacy is that people were empowered by authentic leadership, then I would have served my purpose. And that authentic leadership is anchored on strong strategy, communication, and branding. Responding to why do I exist? Who am I? Then from that, move on to what needs to be done, how, with whom, and all that. But the core question is, why do I exist? Or who am I? And that's what my vision is. And I say that if at the very end of life, if only 6 words would be put on my tombstone, there will be this: he loved, he cared, he mattered. If I can have those 6 lines as my eulogy, then I know I would have left a legacy. And a legacy is how much of me lives on in others. And therefore, the reason why I'm actually even on this webinar, it's not because it's flashy and all, and it's because I want to serve. I want to help people. I want to work with people. That is my driving force. So whether I'm feeling down in the dumps or the call to serve is stronger than how I feel in the moment. And all this is encapsulated in or anchored on what I believe in, my values. And I want to challenge you and ask you, do you know what your values are? Have you written them out? And these are my 5 key values. And this is how I filter everything I do in life and work. The very first one is that I will make a difference in my life. What I am doing, does it make a difference for someone else? Does it make a difference for a business? Does it make a difference for an organization? If it does, then I welcome it on board. I will inspire others to greatness. I am a consistent learner. I have not arrived. Knowledge, I'm not a well of knowledge. I absorb knowledge. I shall build loving relationships. So it's not a matter of a client engagement. For me, it's a matter of a client relationship that we grow together. I will uplift those who are around me. I will always seek opportunities to help others. And if anything comes to my life that does not meet these core values, then I put it aside, because that is what is actually going to pull me away from my mission. So 3 areas. I'm very clear on what my mission is. I'm very clear on what my vision is. And I'm very clear on what I stand for, my values. And these form like what I'd call a sieve of life, and all 3 key areas. And I hope this response will come in a little earlier. Why do I feel like I don't show up? And I'm not saying that you're going to be perfect, that you're all the time you're going to be performing at 100%. But even when you're performing at 50%, then you know the help that you need to seek to get where you need to be. You start learning about being authentic in leading yourself. Being vulnerable is not a weakness, it's a strength. Sharing your struggles is not a weakness, it's a strength, because it's from those that you learn the next step. I have a short video that I wanted to share with you, and maybe what we will do, better with your permission, is maybe we can share the link to that video, and you can watch it at your own convenience, so that you can also have some time of short engagement. But from now, this perspective of having clarity in mission, vision, and values is now what triggered me to where we are right now. So why am I able to attract the clients that I attract, the partners that I attract? Because I decided very, very clearly that I will grow going forward. So part of defining myself was just sitting down. It ended up writing my first book, just trying to figure out my own life and all. But now triggered dealing with the past. Then now looking at, okay, so I'm going to be a game changer, and I wrote that down very, very clearly. This is what I am going to do every single day or every single month to make sure that I get where I am. I wrote my own manifesto, and I called it a Game Changers Manifesto. And then I created my own personal board of directors. That sounds cliche. What I wanted to do is have people who invest in me, or who are invested in me, to make sure that I go what I want to be. And that slide has just popped up. And finally, my current project is now looking at leadership as a safari. It's a journey. And just looking at the 6 keys that will help you to thrive at work and life. And basically accounting a bit of what we've done, we've gone through today, and going deeper into it. And from that, ultimately what happened is I started to attract the right kind of partners also for my business. And I've listed some of them there. And Angled North is one of my very honored and significant partners in this journey. What am I trying to say? To get to an area of significance, you cannot do that alone. you will need others along the way to help you get there. The question is, what is the caliber of those around you that is going to get you to where you are? Remember, you're the sum of your most significant and close relationships. So what are they? How do they look like? Where are they? And I want to know what action will you take today towards the significance in your life, in your work, in your community, in your engagement, in your influence as we go forward. Let me stop there and really thank you for bearing with me when we get technological hitches. And I hope that this has planted a seed in you. And there are many opportunities for us to engage with. And yeah, I want to hand it over to you, Beryl. Thank you.
Thanks, Kimunya. It was a wonderful presentation. It's a reflexive presentation, really. It's about much more than just career. I think for all of us, it's a time to really reflect on where we are at now and whether it's really where we should be in all aspects of our lives. Yeah, so we're open to questions. There's some questions that had come previously, so I'm going to start with those ones. But please type in the chat box if you have any questions for Kimunya. Yeah, you can also, if you feel it's a sensitive question, please just share it privately and he'll be able to see it. The first one, Kimunya, is how should I lead by example and make others learn from it?
If I got the question right, how should I lead by example and learn from it?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. The very first step of doing that is actually understanding who you are, and who you are also then leads to why you actually exist. Who am I? And living authentically. One of the things that really troubled me was just the whole aspect of public speaking. Before this, I really hated public speaking, and it came from. This might sound really ridiculous, but it came from an experience I had when I was in lower primary. And I remember very well, one day we were told to make presentations, I think to songs or skits or something like that. And I went and did a song, and one of the senior students in that school really brought me down and said, of all things in this world, is that the best that you can do? And I lived with that tag for very long, thinking that I can't amount to anything. I dreaded PowerPoint, making presentations, even at work. Even as a director, I hated it. I would panic. But to now bring it home for you is to just figure out what is it that you naturally feel inclined or you do naturally without thinking much, and augment it. For me, it's just adding thoughts and writing and figuring out how different pieces work. That's my gifting. Now I take that gifting and throw it into a PowerPoint presentation and throw it into a conversation. I would say one of the things is just figure out what is that gifting that you have. What is that thing naturally that others seem to struggle with? Pick it up, augment it, and use it in other areas of your life where you're struggling. So that was my approach to that specific question.
Okay, Kimunya, thank you very much for that. Another question we get, actually they're related. I'll read the ones that I feel are related, and maybe you could share your thoughts on it. So one said, how do I find a deep sense of self as a leader, yet the organization does not recognize HR? Another person asked, how do I rise above the day-to-day politics in order to find myself as a leader? This is an environment that is very male-oriented and aggressive. And another person asks, how do you actually get to realize your purpose in life? Because everything else is related to it. And can I have more than one purpose? I hope I haven't overloaded you,
Mhm.
but I felt there was some relation there. So, yeah, what you?
Okay, so basically, it's just looking at being confident in your skin, regardless of the environment that you find yourself in. In my last formal employment, I I started off as an entry level manager. That's the last formal employment I had. But again, I went in. Wherever I've worked, I've always looked at how does what I do help people or bring a change to people's lives. And so that for me was front and center, regardless of whether it's politics or how I feel and all that. So how am I making a difference for the people, to people who are being impacted or being touched by what I am doing? So I started off as a manager, and what helped me along the journey is just that specific focus. Now, by the time I resigned 8 years later, I'd gone from a manager for 3 countries up to the director for Eastern and Southern Africa. Now, the key thing here is, again, showing up authentically and knowing who you are. One of the things that was very clear about in my workplace is that family is very, very important. By the time I was joining this organization, we just gotten our first child. And therefore, I said, at that season of life, it was important for me to put enough time for my family. Yes, I will work hard and make sure that what I'm doing is achieved, but family comes first. So I was very clear about that. I was nearly fired in the first 3 months in my probation because it was perceived that I would leave work at 5 and therefore was not committed. But at that point, I asked my then supervisor, who was the regional head, I asked him, whoever is, propagating this fact that I'm not committed to my work, when I'm here at 6:30 in the morning or at 6 in the morning, where are they? And believe it or not, that changed the tone of our conversation from that point on. And I rose in rank. Now, the people who are basically hanging around the office until 8 p.m., I left them maybe just a notch higher than when I joined. I had come and surpassed them and gone to directorship. So what am I saying? Is that stay true to yourself regardless. Be the thermostat regardless of the politics and regardless of how people beat you down. And then again, in a support system that is going to help you bridge through those tough times. That is very critical. Have meaningful relationships. They will save you at that time, even in male-dominated environment. Show up truly as yourself and just consider the politics as exactly that. Politics. It gets you nowhere. Yes, some might look like they're getting somewhere, but ultimately, what will their legacy be? But it's what will their legacy be? What kind of thermostat are you going to be? I think that's my challenge. There's no magic bullet, but the thing is, know self, and once you've known self, know how to act in that self.
I think that's very well put. Yeah, it's really the question of whether, I think with politics, it's always a question of, will you be the thermostat or will you be the thermometer? Are you going to do exactly what they tell you to do and always shift to please the status quo, or you're going to actually stand on your own values, as we've just heard from Kimunya? Yeah, and lastly, Kimunya, there's another question that says, I have solid experience and I believe I should be operating at 2 levels from where I am, but I do not seem to be able to quite know what else to do to move ahead. What could you say to that?
Aha. So this is a space where you're feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or a sense of just loss. And I think I'll piggyback on the last comment I made. The significant others are not just necessarily your peers or mentors um, or family. A significant other would be a coach, for example. And I was having a chat earlier with Beryl, just telling us last week was very heavy for me emotionally because some of the coaching clients I have right now are really going through difficult times. Now the thing is, you also need that third person in your life who is objective and who will help you dig deeper and figure out where the real issue is. So the fact that you feel stuck or you want to be you feel like you must be or you need to be two levels higher than where you are, but you still feel stuck, is that is a conversation that is going on in your mind, and you have not quite figured out a way to progress it forward. So seeking out somebody like a coach will help you sit down and really drill down and figure out where exactly is the issue, instead of just dealing with the symptoms. And then now grow, have that conversation, help you to now be able to figure out the next step. So this is where the real pain is. This is where the real disease is. So what do we need to do to get to where that disease is eradicated? So what is my temperature right? Is my heartbeat right? Is my am I okay? And if not, then what prescription, what medicine do I need to take to ensure that I get to where I need to be? So having those conversations with your coach will help you calm the voices or the chaos that is in your mind and really figure out how you need to progress. Yeah, so I would say always it's always important to seek credible, external, impartial, and authentic help as you progress. I personally have a coach. So I'm a coach, yes, but I actually have a coach. And why? Because there's sometimes that I feel I'm stuck in getting my business going forward, or I'm stuck in just maintaining or resolving a conflict maybe with a client or with a significant other. And I will sit down with my coach, and through that conversation, I'm able to craft my way forward, my action, and also accountability way forward.
Thank you so much, Kimunya. That was really, really good. Yeah, so I can see there's some other questions related to how to develop a personal brand and things related to that. So for that, I would say please join us on Wednesday and Thursday because we're going to be covering that a lot. And we would really like to be comprehensive in that. Okay, one question has come in. I guess we could close with this question, and it's how can I choose a coach?
Aha, that's a good one. How can I choose a coach? And I would actually bounce back a question. What is it that is really bugging you or really feeling you in a state of frustration, or I just feel overwhelmed, or I'm just had it that is driving you? And that one will determine the kind of coach that you're going to choose. So it might be a business problem, it might be a HR issue, it might be a personal problem. So that determines the kind of coach that you're going to choose. So that is one. The next one is when you're choosing a coach, be very keen in and don't shy away from this. By all means, ask them to share with you their credentials. Just because somebody has a big Twitter following, Facebook following, or whatever it is, or speaks well, does not necessarily mean that they're going to help you. And sure, let's just make sure that you remain professional and you seek help, or you seek a coach who is certified by a recognized body. Because what has been happening is that sometimes you actually seek out a coach and you just go sit in there, spend your money, and this individual is just telling you how wrong your life has gone, and this is the way you should go. Remember, the true definition of what we define as coaching is this: coaching should be a creative and thought-provoking process Yeah, it should be creative one. It should be thought-provoking, and that process should help you maximize on your personal and professional potential. Because that potential is only you who knows, who is the master of your potential. I cannot just walk in and just figure out, your potential is at 90% as opposed to 100%. You know, and some of the questions that you answered, how persistent am I? 50%. You know yourself. So the coach will now help you to figure out what is lacking in that potential. So one, make sure that the coach is certified by a recognized body. And then the other one is, what exactly are you seeking out? Be very clear about what you're seeking out. If you need help in relationships, be very clear. I need help in my relationship because it is affecting me in this way. I need help in my business because I cannot bring in as much business as I would want. Be very clear about your ask. And a credible coach will be able to come back to you with a proposal of most probably how you're going to engage.
Thank you, Kimunya. I'd also say, just to add, it sounds like this is something that definitely needs you to also be very comfortable with the person. If you're not comfortable with your coach, you're not going to be able to get much out of it, because you're going to have to be very, very vulnerable about what's going on in your life. So I would say also just bear that in mind. Yeah, and you need to find someone that you'd be comfortable with in that way. All right, so I guess I can't see any other questions. Thank you so much for your patience. I know we've had a few technical hitches here and there, but such is life. We have persisted and we prevailed. And so thank you so much for your time. And Kimunya, thank you so much for being so generous with your experience and sharing with us really how you were able to get to that place of significance for your own life. So in case you want to get in touch with Kimunya, please, his contacts are on the screen right now. So just grab those. And we look forward to seeing you. So at 3 p.m. All right, bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.